Hey everyone, and welcome to Serve the Animals, this amazing summit. And my name is Tanja Andersen. I am the host on this amazing summit. And today we have a guest with us. His name is William Crane. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Yes.
So who is this William? To short about him, he will also share about who he is. After this, he is the co-founder of Safe Haven Farm Sanctuary. And the Safe Haven Farm Sanctuary provide a lifelong home to farm animals, rescue for slaughter and abandonments. So when I have a talk with William, this topic around like what is going on behind private people buying chicken as other birds, we will talk about that. So the topic we get to talk about is abandonment, ducklings, chickens, and rooster. So we are going in that topic when we will share first around why private people buy that and what is happening afterwards. At the end, we will touch base on rooster. So stay on, guys. So William, talk a little bit about like, who are you?
Well, I'm a retired college professor. And a few years ago, in 2008, my wife Ellen and I opened Safe Haven Farm Sanctuary in upstate New York, United States, upstate New York. And we, as you mentioned, we give a lifelong home to farm animals rescued from slaughter and abandonment. We have now 170 animals we care for, and there's a whole wide range from goats and pigs, cows, and many others. One of the constant problems, and the reason I'm happy to be here today to talk to people about this, is the abandonment of the need the people who wish to rehome their ducklings, chicks, and the roosters. We get calls every day, every single day, from people who ask us, could you take our ducklings? We bought 6 ducklings, and now they're 2 weeks old, and we've realized that they take up more room than we thought, and we can't take care of them anymore. I don't want to send them back to the firm because they'll kill them, and I don't want to just see them die. Can you save their lives for us? But we're filled up with, and the same with chicks. We're filled up with these animals, and all the sanctuaries are filled up. We can't take anymore, and we try to talk to them about, well, is there some way you can take care of them yourself? I mean, you've adopted them, you're sort of responsible, but sometimes they want to talk about some ways to keep them, but often they think they're cute when they go to the farm supply stores and they buy them, and then they don't think about it. And also schools are, they order chicks and ducklings, for their projects, their hatching projects, and they don't plan ahead either. We get lots of calls from schools. Well, we have six baby chicks, and we haven't found anybody to take care of them. Now, schools, you'd think the teachers they tell children to plan ahead all the time. You'd think that they would plan ahead themselves and not take them without a firm plan as to where they would go when the hatching project is over.
Yeah,
So this is a big problem. It's a real big problem, and a lot of them are just abandoned. We get lots of calls. People see them on the streets.
William, before you're sharing more about that, I would like to know, like, a little bit before we talk about the topic, like, talk a little bit about your sanctuary instead of going straight into the problem, because we're coming to that point. So share a little bit about, like, where did this passion come from since you started this sanctuary? Like, let's go back and talk about, like, where did this passion start in your life, so people get to know who you are, and we will talk about like the issues and the challenges around the topic.
Oh, okay. Well, my wife Ellen was a pediatrician. She ran the emergency room at a big hospital, Jacobi Hospital in New York, and I was a college professor. And we, the passion seemed to come from inside us as we got older. It's just we started to feel our hearts going out to animals more and more. It seemed like sort of a natural evolution. And Ellen began reading about the farm sanctuary in upstate New York at Watkins Glen. There's a large sanctuary. And I began protesting a lot.
As an activist?
As an activist. Yeah, I was doing a lot of protests. We formed a group to try to save deer in East Hampton, and then I began protesting a lot around the bears in New Jersey, where we lived in New Jersey for a long time, the bear hunts to protect the bears. And I was getting arrested a lot and going to jail, and I was very active in that. When we thought about the farm sanctuary, I didn't know if I would have the patience because I'm more of an activist. To care for animals is like you have to, it seemed to me you have to have a lot of patience, and I'm not sure I did. Fortunately, Ellen has a lot of patience. And so she wanted to do it. And another motive I had, besides just, is that besides the compassion for the feeling for the animals, is that I was always interested in animals as a topic in psychology. And I wanted to teach a course in animal behavior and ethics, the ethics of animal, the way we treat animals. And I thought, you know, Ellen wants to have a sanctuary. And I thought to myself, it might be a good opportunity for me to learn about animals firsthand. So I wasn't just teaching about animals out of the books, you know, I would know about them and I could teach a better course that way. And so that was a sort of a secret motive I had, that I could teach at the City College of New York, where I taught for 50 years. And so I began teaching a course, and then Ellen had to retire because taking care of the animals, it didn't work to have caretakers. We were living in a city, and we were driving up to our farm in northern New York, upstate New York. We were driving up twice a week. I was staying up here all the time. And you just have to take care of them yourself. So she retired, and then a little later, I retired. And now we're devoted to these are our children.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. So let's go back. You touched base a little bit about this topic. We talk about abandoned ducklings, chickens, and rooster. So you touched a little bit space about the experience you have with schools that is having this kind of hassling project. Can you please share around that?
Well, they can order fertilized eggs. The schools can order fertilized eggs from online. And so they can get them delivered, and then they have a heat lamp for them when they get as they hatch. And it's all very exciting for the children. And it's supposed to be instructive for the children. We've had some hens who have hidden their eggs, and we've had some chicks at our farm, and that we have a pond, and on the pond once in a while the wild ducks will have babies, and the mallard ducks. And what I wish the schools would know, and if people talk to schools about it, because when they get calls, we'll get the message out. Not only should they not just have the hatching project and then figure out later who would take them, because people don't want them to take them, then they don't know what to do, and they end up abandoning them or sending them back to the factory. But I'd like them to know and tell the schools this message, that you can't understand how a chick grows. You're not getting a good picture with a heat lamp without a mother, because when we see the mother raising the chicks, it's a whole different experience. It's not like an artificial experiment. It's a whole different experience. The chicks, right away, they hide under the feathers. A chick under the heat lamp has nowhere to hide. And They get comfort, they get warmth in the cold nights and the cold days, and underneath the feathers, they feel comforted. When a chick is out and stumbles, or gets caught in something, or gets abandoned, the chick sends out a signal, a cry, a distress call, and the hen immediately comes running over to save it. A chick under a heat lamp, they're uttering distress calls all the time, but nobody comes. Can people imagine what it's like to grow up crying out for help, but nobody comes? Can people just imagine that? The chicks aren't growing up normally. They're growing up in artificial conditions. They're like growing up in a factory. No mothers, no care, no love, no protection, no security. They don't have the sense of security. They can recover to some extent, but in the schools, they're not seeing what it's like for chicks to grow up. All they see them is come out of the egg. That's it. And then the kids feed them. The kids do the best they can, but the kids cannot be a real mother. So I'd like the schools to be aware of this, and really they should stop the whole practice.
You could always go to like some other places, sanctuaries, where there sometimes is chickens, sometimes that happen on sanctuaries. So why not work with sanctuary and say, hey, when that happened, please let me know if it happened, because it's not all sanctuary that is happening. That that could be a solution, or
yes,
find another way to see
they
it.
can go
like
visit farms and
exactly.
And so
so there's always
or get a hen if you really
that is two solutions to that, instead of supporting, as I see it, my opinion, that cruelty to, as you talk about, like I've never think about that when I see in the past when I saw chickens under the heatland without the mom around them. I think in the past it was very sweet, the funny noises, like very lovely noises. And when you share that, it's just like, oh my God. And I just like take me back. It was like that noises, what's crying for my help. It's just like, oh my God, my heart just breaks now.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So I've never think about
that. Thank you
that.
for being open. You know, it takes an open-minded person to
receive what is about, like also
what it's
the
really
noise.
about.
And because it makes sense when you say that, when the small chick is scared or there's something happening, is like running under the mom's big feather, and is there, the mom is sitting with them or doing like in shadow or doing some hiding. When you share that, it's just like, damn it. That makes sense now.
I didn't think about it either until we had hens who I saw them lay the eggs and saw what the chicks really do, and how the hens really behave, how they look after them. They don't let them out of sight. They don't let them go too far.
No, not at all.
The chicks, they go. Nobody pulls them in. The hens will. We had a chick was kind of with a deformed leg, and it was born, and another one was a baby rooster, and the hen would keep the one who had the physical problem much closer. She wouldn't let it get too far and bring it in very fast, and let the healthier ones go free where they wanted. So it's also that kind of protection that occurs in natural life, and you can learn a lot about this by watching them. And I didn't realize it. Like you, I saw them in the farm supply stores, and I thought, oh, how they are so cute. They know they look cute. They know they can sell a whole lot of them. And I went to by the way, and people, I think they should keep putting pressure on the stores not to sell them, even though it's hard to convince them because they're making a lot of money. But
and also
into the stores, we tried to have a campaign with the United Poultry Concerns, Karen Davis, and the United Poultry Concerns. We've tried to have widespread campaigns. We have, and to write to the in much of the United States, the firm is Tractor Supply that does most of the selling. To get them to stop selling them, just stop selling them. We've made some progress by putting pressure on petitions and letters to make the conditions a little better. But we really like them to stop selling, because so many end up dead. There's just not enough people to take care of them. It's heartbreaking to say no to people all the time too. And a lot of them get mixed in those batches with chicks or roosters. Ordinarily they would be killed, but at birth, because roosters don't lay eggs and don't bring any profit. But the roosters, sometimes they try to sex them in the hatcheries, but it's very difficult to tell the sex, so they make mistakes. Ordinarily, the roosters are just gassed or crushed when some escape. So when people order 6 chicks, or buy 6 chicks, they're likely to get 1 or 2 roosters. And then a lot of towns don't allow them. So the roosters they crow too much for people. They crow too loudly and people don't want them. So we get a lot of calls for roosters.
Yeah, that is also like a good point when, as I remember when we have like called before here, when you talk about the point or the message also with roosters, oh my God, like rooster, that's all with the word, oh my God, was when they're getting old, like adults, like people do not want to use rooster, they want like someone to lay eggs. So to share a little bit around that, like what is the message around that when people going out and buy chicks because they want chicks and this ending up with this rooster in the background?
Well, a lot of towns in the United States, throughout our country, a lot of towns ban them because they might get 1 or 2 calls that people don't like. The sound bothers them. It wakes them up and bothers them. And the message I would try to give to people is, when they talk to people and themselves, when they think about it, is the rooster is the sound. First, the sound is nature, a natural sound. It's nature's sound. I often think of the rooster as nature's trumpeter, the trumpet. It sounds like they're saying, here I am, a tough guy. But Thoreau said it was the effervescence of life. It's the health of nature. The vitality and force of nature is what the rooster is expressing more than any other animal. And some people think the rooster is saying it's good to be alive when they crow. And so people can come to appreciate the rooster. And I wish the towns would stop putting the ban. I mean, there's so many noises for, leaf blowers we have, and lawnmowers and trucks, sirens and everything. All these mechanical noises. At least we could allow the rooster is nature, is getting in touch with nature. It's just people just don't like any more loud sounds. But it's a natural, it's a very expressive sound. So I think they can get to like it. And the rooster is aggressive, but I'd like people to know also that this aggression, first of all, the rooster is like a medieval knight in a lot of ways. They're chivalrous. They always let the hens eat first. They stand back and while the hens eat. And they
we humans can learn that the men,
the
men can learn from them.
Oh my God. It's medieval, but that's how they evolved. They look after everybody, and they are the bravest creature. They're so admirable, the bravest creature. One anecdote, if I can, I was driving down the road, and I saw the pen that I came across almost every day driving down this road, and I looked over to see the hens and the roost, rooster in there, and a raccoon was in there, a big raccoon. And the hens were up against the wall, and it looked like the raccoon was just going to go get one of the hens. And the rooster stepped right in, walked over and stepped right in front of that raccoon and just stared him in the eye. The rooster, as if it looked like he was saying, "You want those hens? You're going to go through me." And it was the bravest thing. And then I got out of the car and threw a pebble at the raccoon to chase him away, because the rooster would have been killed. They give up their lives. They're so for their hens. I mean, how many of us would be so brave to give? They're just tremendous animals, and this is how they've evolved. They have to be aggressive. The chickens that we love for the eggs, that species probably wouldn't be here if the rooster. Another time, staff at a farm saw the rooster attack a fox. The fox was going to came down a hill and was going to get the hens. And the rooster ran up and they got into a big fight. Feathers flying everywhere. The rooster was gone, dead.
The rooster is never giving up. They are fighting to the end.
They'll fight. They'll give up their life. They don't give up. They fight. And the hens, in the meantime, ran back into their coop.
Yeah.
The hens had plenty of time to escape because that rooster put up quite a fight.
Yeah.
So you could see here throughout nature's history how the species survived because the rooster was so tough, such a brave, gallant. That's how they. So everybody who loves their eggs, well, that species wouldn't be here. I don't think that species would be here if the rooster hadn't grown into such a tough fellow.
No.
Tough hombre.
Definitely brave. Like, that's, as I see when you share that, William, is just like we can learn so much for the animals if we choose to learn, like, who are they as a being, because it's a living being. Like, what can I learn as a person from the rooster? Like, how can I learn the skills to watch them and seeing, like, in nature and amazing life, to really watch them sit on a chair and just watch them just going a big area and see, okay, what can I take with me home and change some lifestyle so that I can be a better person, a better version of who I am, because we can learn so much from the nature.
Well said.
Yeah, it's just, we are so, when I really sit down on a chair and really watch animal, like in a amazing enclosure, like a big enclosure where they really can express themselves and doing like natural behavior, when I really watch them, like with eyes and really seeing like how they move and what they're doing, we are so similar to animals. Like, no matter what species we look at, we are so similar. We are just forgotten. We are forgetting who we are. We are forgetting our true identity. We are forgetting to be a good empathy person on this earth. And I will believe to find that again is to really give it forward to animals and learn how to serve the animals, and I will receive the wisdom instead of the animals is for me. No, we are there for the animals so they can have a good life and live a healthy life, live the life they deserve, so that we receive the wisdom from them.
Very good.
Yeah. So before we end, William, is I would like to know, like, what actions can a person that watching this amazing interview, like, what can they do in their own personal life so they are serving you guys, or they're serving the mission you have in your work? Like, what can a person do of 3 things?
Well, a lot of the problems, the animals we rescue come of escaped slaughter. And a lot of them are slaughtered, the chicks, the natural chickens, the regular chicken, not the natural ones, I'm sorry, the factory farm chickens, the chickens that go to the stores, they are slaughtered. The ones who are called broilers, they're made for meat. raised for meat are slaughtered usually at 5 or 6 weeks of age. The roosters, as I mentioned, are slaughtered at 1 day after birth, killed 1 day after birth. The cruelty, to me, the cruelty is terrible. And one thing they can consider, people can do, is consider their diet, consider whether they want to continue to support this industry. These industries, the calves, male calves on dairy farms are slaughtered very early. We have several calves. So one thing is for people to consider their diet. The second is when they see the situation like selling chicks, to write to the write to the president of Tractor Supply and other farm supply stores, or they see people selling mouse traps that are cruel. Raise your voice. That's the second thing. I would like people to raise their voice. Yeah. And the third message I would give was the one that you expressed just now, which is to try to open our, join us in opening our hearts to animals. They are tremendously similar. When the scientists in the early 2000s discovered how to decode the genome, all the DNA, they were amazed at this overlap. And this is simply on a genetic, biological level. The scientists were amazed at how similar we are to other animals. They never thought that we shared so much. All animals, all living things use the same genetic code to create proteins. They share all these similars. They use the same. They create proteins out of the same. All life out of the same amino acids. There's so many similarities. And then if you watch animals, you'll realize that. So open your heart, try to learn about animals and be, as you say, use your empathy, develop your empathy. That's my third message, which you already expressed.
100%. There's 3 important and critical, as I see it, so we can see I have a healthy life. Like, how can we have a healthy life if we have not created a really deep empathy, loving connection to another living being? And like, how can I say I have a healthy life if I choose to destroy other life so that I can get what I want? Like, I don't see that as a healthy lifestyle.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So with the wisdom you have today, William, what advice would you like to give to your 20 years old you?
To my 20 years
old you, young you, 20 years, William, what advice would you like to give to him that is 20 years, like in the past?
You mean a 20-year-old person?
Yes, exactly.
Well, I would say try to keep an open heart, have a soft heart, try to be compassionate and, like you say, a loving person. The whole world is not based on high standardized test scores, high grades, high promotion. As an old person, it's better. To me, it's become more admirable to see kindness than it is intelligence and smartness and achievement. Achievement, you can get to the height of society and be a real cold-blooded person.
True.
Have empathy, develop care and empathy. You can start those goals a little earlier.
Yeah. Amen to that. So for bottom of my heart, William, it has really been a huge blessing for you to put some awareness about this, because I get a huge insight as you may experience me live in the insurance, like, oh my God, I never think about that.
Yeah.
around the chickens and ducklings. Like I've never think about that when I see like under this like warm red hot lamp without the moms. That's just like blow my mind. I just like feel that's like boo in my body. So thank you so much for being the voice for what is happening out there, the truth around natural behavior and natural habits around animals, and also be brave enough to say it. That can be uncomfortable for people. That is, I really honor you about that with you. Like that is a huge, big skills to have, and I so grateful for you really speaking the words for the ducklings, chickens, and rooster. Why it's so important to stop it.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. And to you, dear audience, how you get access to all this amazing information about a Safe Haven Farm Sanctuary, as William Crane is a co-founder of, is you're going down below this video or go back in your newsletter. There is all information about them, the social media, and where you can really get access to them. So we will invite you to go to the link below or back in newsletter and signing up to their newsletter to get more information and knowledge about the work and really support them and spread the awareness, because like one of the action step was really speak up with what you're saying and be around people that is speaking up. So if it is uncomfortable for you to really take a step forward in your voice and owning your voice to speak up for what is happening out there of the cruelty of animals, take grab in William and the people that work for Safe Haven Farm Sanctuary and get around them so you get the confidence, so you get the trust in your voice, so you can speak it out to the public. So do that now. We really invite you to do that. And thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you so much. And thank you so much for seeing this. And we really wish you to spread the awareness about Safe Haven Farm Sanctuary. So thank you so much, everyone. And have an amazing day. Bye, everyone.